Hana stared at her reflection in the metal wall of the elevator. Long arms, wide-set eyes, small, flat nose. She touched her face gently, feeling the contours that made others whisper when she walked by. 28 years old and still the odd one out. Level 4. Xenobiology, announced the elevator's flat voice. Hana stepped out, clutching her tablet to her chest. The research station orbiting Earth was huge, home to over 300 scientists and staff, but somehow she always felt like she took up too much space in it. "Morning, monkey girl," called Tejo as he passed. He didn't even look at her, just kept walking with his perfect posture and his perfect face. The other scientists with him laughed quietly. Hana said nothing. What was there to say after 3 years of the same joke? She had tried fighting back once, she had tried ignoring it, she had tried reporting it. Nothing changed. She entered her lab and locked the door. Here at least she could work in peace. Her research on alien biology had earned the station 2 major grants last year. Not that anyone gave her credit. Director Kim had accepted the awards himself. "Hana, your sample results are ready," said the lab computer. "Show me," she replied, settling into her chair. The screen filled with data about the strange moss they had found on Mars. It wasn't much, just simple plant life. But it was proof. Humans weren't alone in the universe. As she studied the results, a message flashed on her screen. "Urgent. All senior staff report to main hall." Hana frowned. She was senior staff, technically. She had more advanced degrees than most people on the station. But these all-staff meetings rarely included her. Still, orders were orders. The main hall buzzed with excitement. Hana slipped in quietly and stood at the back. Whatever was happening, it was big. Even Director Kim looked nervous as he paced. At the front, "Attention, everyone," he finally called. "I have extraordinary news. 1 hour ago, our deep space array detected an artificial signal. 20 minutes after that, 3 ships appeared at the edge of our solar system." The room erupted in gasps and questions. "Silence!" Director Kim shouted. "Yes, you understand correctly. We have made first contact with intelligent alien life." Hana's heart raced. This was what they had all been working toward. The visitors call themselves the Stellar Collective, an alliance of 3 species. They have requested to send representatives to our station for peaceful talks. I have agreed. They will arrive in approximately 6 hours. Director Kim began assigning tasks. The best quarters needed preparation. A welcome ceremony needed planning. The station's most impressive scientific achievements needed displaying. And, most importantly, he continued, we need our best and brightest to form the welcome committee. These will be the first humans to officially meet alien life. He began reading names. Tae-ho, of course. Jin from astronomy. 6 others from various departments, not Hana, despite being the station's leading expert on alien biology. As the meeting ended, she approached Director Kim. "Sir, I should be part of the welcome team. My research—" "Not now, Hana," he cut her off. "We need to put our best face forward. You understand? Our best face, of course, not her face with its monkey features. But sir, if they're bringing xenobiologists, I should—" "That's enough," he snapped. "Return to your lab. Document the Mars samples. That's your assignment." Hana watched him walk away, joining Tae-ho and the others. They were already discussing what to wear, how to make the best impression. 6 hours later, Hana sat alone in her lab, watching the station's cameras. She had no official access to the feed, but she had long ago figured out how to hack the system. Small rebellions were sometimes all she had. On screen, the alien ship docked with perfect precision. It was beautiful, shaped like a teardrop glowing with soft blue light. The welcome committee stood in perfect formation. Director Kim stepped forward as the ship's door opened. 3 different alien species emerged. The first looked almost human, except its skin gave off light, shifting between blues and greens. The second was tall and insect-like, with complex armor, covering its body. The third remained partially hidden in robes, only its 4-fingered hands visible. "Greetings," said the glowing one in perfect English. "I am Ambassador Lana of the Luminari. These are my colleagues, Commander Vex of the Vex Dominion, and Elder Mary of the Meridian Collective. Director Kim bowed slightly. Welcome to Earth, Station 1. I am Director Kim, and these are our finest scientists. Hana watched bitterly as introductions continued. The aliens seemed especially interested in human biology, asking questions about genetic diversity and adaptation. We have many genetic variants on our world, explained Tejo proudly. But we've eliminated most negative mutations through screening. Hana clenched her fists. Her condition wasn't a negative mutation. It was a rare genetic variation, harmless, just visible. The tour moved through the station, eventually heading toward the residential section. Hana switched off her screen. There was work to do, even if no one would see it. At midnight, most of the station slept. The diplomatic party had ended hours ago with the aliens returning to their ship to rest. Hana remained in her lab, running final tests on the Mars samples. The door slid open. Hana spun around, startled. No one ever visited her lab, especially not at midnight. In the doorway stood one of the aliens, one of the glowing luminari, smaller than the ambassador, with light that pulsed in patterns of gold and white. I apologize for intruding, the alien said. Its voice was melodic, almost like singing. I am Seo, junior scientist to Ambassador Lana. How did you get in here? Hana asked. This section is restricted. SEO tilted its head. The door was not locked to me. I am exploring while others rest. The alien moved closer, studying Hana with obvious interest. You were not at the greeting ceremony. I wasn't invited, Hana said flatly. Strange. Your genetic markers are most fascinating of all I've seen here. Hana stiffened. My genetic markers? Yes. Seo pointed to Hana's face, then arms. These features, they are rare among your kind now? They're a mutation. Nothing special. Not mutation, ancient design. Seo's light brightened with excitement. Your kind once had many with these markers. Long ago. Hana didn't know how to respond. No one had ever suggested her differences were anything but flaws. Seo reached into a pocket in its robes and removed something small and black. For you. A gift. Hana hesitantly accepted the object. It was a crystal, perfectly black, absorbing, all light around it. Even Seo's glow seemed to bend toward it. What is it? A shadow crystal. From my world. It responds to genetic markers like yours. Seo moved toward the door. I must return before I am missed, but we will speak again, Hana with the ancient markers. How do you know my name? Hana called, but Seo was already gone. She looked down at the crystal in her palm. Unlike anything she'd ever seen, it seemed to pull at her, like it belonged, with her somehow. That night, Hana dreamed of stars being swallowed by darkness. She floated in space, watching entire solar systems vanish into black holes that seemed to answer to her call. She woke suddenly, heart pounding. The room was dark except for the faint emergency lights along the floor. But something was wrong. Her shadow on the wall. It was moving. Not with her, but on its own. Hana froze, watching as her shadow raised a hand independently of her body. It stretched across the wall, growing larger, taking a shape that wasn't quite human anymore. The crystal Seo had given her lay on her bedside table. It pulsed once, twice, then went still, and her shadow smiled at her with teeth made of darkness. Hana didn't sleep for the rest of the night. She sat on her bed staring at the wall where her shadow had moved on its own. Now it behaved normally again, following her movements as a shadow should. The black crystal sat on her desk. In the dim light, it seemed to drink in even the faint glow from the emergency lights. I'm just tired, Hana told herself. I imagined it. But she knew she hadn't. When morning came, Hana hid the crystal in her pocket and headed to her lab. The station buzzed with excitement about the aliens. Screens everywhere showed footage of the Stellar Collective's ship and the official welcome ceremony. No one noticed Hana slip into her lab. Once inside, she placed the crystal on her examination table. Her hands shook as she ran a scanner over it. Unknown material, reported the computer. Not matching any known element. Hana tried different tests. The crystal absorbed all light, all radiation. It registered no temperature. It seemed impossible. What? Did you give me CO? She whispered. A shadow fell across her desk, her own, but she wasn't standing in that direction. Hana froze as her shadow moved across the table, circling the crystal like a curious animal. Hana held out her hand. Her shadow did the same, but reached toward the crystal, instead of mimicking her exactly. When shadow fingers touched the black stone, Hana felt a jolt through her body. The lab door slid open. The shadow snapped back to normal position. Working already? Jin stood in the doorway. He was Hana's direct supervisor, a thin man with tired eyes. He rarely spoke to her except to assign work. Hana quickly covered the crystal with a cloth. Just checking yesterday's results. Jin nodded, distracted. There's a station meeting at noon. The negotiations with the aliens aren't going well. What's wrong? The Vex, the insect-like ones, are demanding technology exchanges, military technology. Jin looked troubled. Director Kim wants all departments to prepare reports on what we can safely share. Hana nodded. I'll have something ready. After Jin left, Hana uncovered the crystal again. Her shadow immediately moved toward it, independent of her body's position. This time, Hana didn't fight it. She watched as her shadow touched the crystal, then seemed to sink into it. A strange, tingling sensation spread through her body. What are you? She whispered to the crystal. The crystal didn't answer, but Hana felt something stir inside her, like waking up after a long sleep. The station's main conference room was crowded when Hana arrived. She found a spot at the back, ignored as usual. Director Kim stood at the front with Taeho and the other chosen representatives. They looked stressed. The negotiations are at a critical point, Director Kim announced. The Luminari want peaceful exchange, but the Vex are pushing for military technology. They've offered advanced space travel in return. Hana noticed that the third species, the Meridians, weren't mentioned. They had stayed mostly silent during the talks, according to station gossip. The Vex have invited us to tour their ship this evening, continued Director Kim. I've selected a team to accompany me. As he read the list of names, Hana felt a strange sensation. The crystal in her pocket seemed to grow heavier, and her shadow on the floor darkened, spreading slightly beyond its natural edges. Suddenly, Ambassador Lana of the Luminari entered the room. The glowing alien's light pulsed in patterns that seemed anxious. Director Kim, we must speak privately, said the ambassador. We're in the middle of a meeting, replied Kim. It concerns the Vex invitation. There is information you should know. Before. The ambassador stopped suddenly, her glow intensifying as she stared past Director Kim. She was looking directly at Hana. Who is that? Asked the ambassador, pointing. Every head in the room turned. Hana wanted to disappear as hundreds of eyes locked onto her. Just a lab technician, said Director Kim quickly. Not important to these discussions. The Luminari moved through the crowd, approaching Hana. You carry the marker. How did we miss you? I don't understand, Hana said quietly. You were hidden from us, said Ambassador Lana, her light changing to show what might have been anger. Why was this one not presented with the other scientists, Director? Kim hurried over. Ambassador, this is just Hana. She has a genetic condition that— Not a condition, interrupted the ambassador. An ancient marker. One we have searched for. She turned to Hana. Has Seo spoken with you? Hana hesitated, then nodded. Did he give you something? The crystal felt like it was burning in Hana's pocket. Slowly, she took it out. The room gasped, collectively. The black crystal seemed to bend the light around it, creating a small zone of darkness. A shadow crystal, breathed Ambassador Lana, and it has bonded to you already. What does that mean? Asked Hana. Before the ambassador could answer, alarms blared throughout the station. Unauthorized scan detected, announced the station's computer. Unknown energy signature targeting Earth defense systems. Director Kim rushed to a communication panel. What's happening? Sir, reported a security officer. The Vex ship is scanning Earth's defense grid. They're mapping our weapon systems. The room erupted in chaos. People shouted questions and orders. Hana felt a surge of anger. The aliens had come pretending to want peace, but were really studying Earth for weaknesses. The crystal in her hand pulsed once, twice. Her shadow stretched across the floor far longer than it should be. They're trying to hurt us, Hana whispered, not sure if she was talking to herself or to her shadow. Her shadow responded. It streaked across the floor, up the wall, and across the ceiling, moving entirely on its own. People screamed and pointed. What's happening? Shouted Director Kim. Hana couldn't answer. She felt her shadow stretching further, beyond the room, beyond the station itself. In her mind, she could suddenly see the Vex ship, see inside it where instruments gathered data on Earth's defenses. Without knowing how, Hana reached out with her shadow and touched the Vex ship's systems. The alarms stopped. Sir, said the security officer, sounding confused. The scan has stopped. The Vex ship's systems just went dark. All eyes turned to Hana. Her shadow was slowly returning to normal size, sliding back across the ceiling and walls until it pooled at her feet. What did you do? Demanded Taeho. Ambassador Lana stepped between them. She protected you, as her kind once did, long ago. Her kind? Repeated Director Kim. Before we arrived, said the ambassador, CO detected traces of the ancient markers in your species' genetic history. We thought they had died out. She gestured to Hana. We were wrong. At least one remains. What are you talking about? Asked Jin, who had pushed his way to the front. Shadow wielders, replied the ambassador. Humans who can control the cosmic shadows, the spaces between dimensions. They were once common on your world, thousands of years ago. Hana stared at the crystal in her hand. This let me do that? Reach the Vex ship. The crystal simply awakened. What was already in you, said Ambassador Lana. Your so-called monkey features are not flaws. They are signs of the ancient genetic coding that allows humans to connect with cosmic shadows. The room had gone completely silent. But why would the Vex scan our defenses? Asked Director Kim. The ambassador's glow dimmed. The Vex have not been honest about their intentions. They seek new worlds to colonize, worlds with resources they need. They want to invade Earth? Jin sounded horrified. Perhaps, but now they will be more careful. The ambassador looked at Hana. They fear shadow wielders, with good reason. A communication screen activated. Commander Vex's insect-like face appeared, mandibles clicking angrily. What weapon did you use? Against our ship? Demanded the Vex commander. Director Kim looked lost. We used no weapon. The energy signature came from your station, interrupted the commander. Our systems were temporarily disabled by an unknown force. Ambassador Lana stepped forward. It was no weapon, Commander. It was a shadow wielder. The IIA Vex commander went still. Its compound eyes seemed to widen. Impossible, it hissed. They are extinct. Evidently not, replied the ambassador. The screen went black as the Vex commander cut the connection. Ambassador Lana turned to Director Kim. You must prepare. The Vex will not take this well. They have hunted shadow wielders across many worlds. Hunted? Hana's voice was small. To extinction? Confirmed the ambassador. They fear your kind's power. Hana looked around the room. The same people who had mocked her for years now stared at her with fear and awe. Taeho stepped forward. This is ridiculous. Hana is just a lab worker with a genetic deformity. Hana felt anger rise inside her again. The crystal pulsed in her hand. Her shadow stretched toward Taeho, rising up the wall behind him like a dark wave. Everyone gasped. Taeho turned, saw the shadow looming over him and stumbled backward. Not a deformity, said Hana quietly. An ancient marker. That's what they called it. For the first time in her life, Teho looked at her with fear instead of mockery, and Hana wasn't sure which she preferred. The next 12 hours were chaos on the station. Security teams rushed through hallways. Scientists packed up vital research. Everyone prepared for possible conflict with the Vex. Hana sat alone in a small conference room. 2 guards stood outside. She wasn't sure if they were protecting her or preventing her escape. The door slid open. Jin entered, looking tired. "Are you okay?" he asked. "Does anyone care?" Hana replied. Jin sighed and sat across from her. "I'm sorry, Hana, for everything, for how we treated you. You didn't mock me like Taiho did, but I didn't stop it either." Jin looked ashamed. "I was a coward." Before Hana could respond, Director Kim entered with Ambassador Lana. The Luminari's light pulsed with quick, anxious patterns. "The Vex ship has moved away from the station," said Director Kim, "but they're still in Earth orbit. They've stopped responding to our messages." "What do they want?" asked Hana. "You," said Ambassador Lana simply. "They fear what you represent." "Me? I'm just one person." "One shadow wielder could destroy their entire fleet," explained the ambassador. "That's why they hunted your kind across the galaxy. Why they helped eliminate them from Earth thousands of years ago." Hana felt cold. "The Vex came to Earth before?" "Long ago. They found a planet full of shadow wielders and guided your species to breed out the trait, to remove it from your genetic line." The ambassador's light dimmed. "We Luminari didn't know this. We only learned recently what the Vex had done on countless worlds. Why do they fear shadow wielders so much? Because your shadows can touch the spaces between stars. You can control cosmic energy, the same energy that powers Vex technology." Ambassador Lana pointed to the crystal Hana still held. "That crystal is just a small piece of condensed cosmic energy. Your shadow connected with it instantly." A loud alarm blared through the station. "What now?" asked Director Kim, rushing to a communication panel. "Sir," came a panicked voice. "The Vex have sent a message. They demand we hand over the shadow wielder within 1 hour, or they will consider it an act of war." Hana's stomach twisted with fear. "What will you do?" Director Kim wouldn't meet her eyes. "The Earth Defense Council is meeting now to decide." "Decide?" Hana stood up. "Decide whether to hand me over to aliens who want to kill me." "It's not that simple," said Director Kim. "The Vex have technology that could destroy Earth. We have to consider all options." "All options?" Hana laughed bitterly. "You mean sacrificing me?" "No one has decided anything yet," Jin insisted. Hana's shadow darkened on the floor, stretching slightly beyond her feet. The crystal in her hand pulsed with black light. "I need to speak with my people," said Ambassador Lana quickly. "We cannot allow the Vex to take a shadow wielder." After the ambassador left, Director Kim turned to Hana. "Stay here, don't use your abilities. We need time to figure this out." When they were alone, Jin moved closer to Hana. "I don't think you're safe here," he whispered. "General Sun arrived from Earth 20 minutes ago. He's pushing to hand you over." "Who's General Sun?" "Military leader. Ambitious. He sees this as a way to get alien technology. Trade you for Vex weapons." Hana felt sick. "What should I do, Jinny?" Checked to make sure no one was listening. "The maintenance tunnel's on level 6. They connect to the whole station. You could hide there until we find another solution. You'd help me?" "It's the right thing to do." Jin handed her a small device. "Station map, security codes. Take supplies from the storeroom on your way." Hana hesitated. "Why are you doing this?" "Because I was wrong about you. We all were." Jin headed for the door. "Wait until shift change in 30 minutes. The guards will switch positions. That's your chance." The maintenance tunnels were narrow, dark, and filled with pipes and cables. Hana crawled through them, guided by the map Jin had given her. Alarms still sounded throughout the station. Announcements called her name, ordering her to report to the main conference room. "They've decided to hand me over," she whispered to herself. Her shadow stretched along the tunnel wall beside her. In the darkness it seemed more solid somehow, almost like a companion rather than just a dark outline. Hana found a small junction where several tunnels met. It was big enough for her to sit and rest. She checked the map. She was deep in the station's core now, far from the main areas. The crystal pulsed in her pocket. Hana took it out, watching as it seemed to absorb what little light existed in the tunnel. "What am I supposed to do with you?" she asked the crystal. To her surprise, her shadow moved across the wall, forming shapes that almost looked like words. Hana couldn't read them, but she felt a response within herself, a knowledge that hadn't been there before. The crystal wasn't just a tool, it was a key, unlocking abilities that had been dormant in her DNA. Hana closed her eyes and focused on her shadow. She felt it stretch, extending beyond the tunnel, slipping through walls and floors. Suddenly she could see other parts of the station through her shadow, like having eyes everywhere her shadow touched. She saw Director Kim arguing with a stern-faced man in a military uniform. General Sun, probably. She saw Taeho in a lab, studying data about her genetic markers, looking frustrated and afraid. She saw Ambassador Lana speaking urgently with Seo and other Luminari, and she saw Vex soldiers boarding the station through a side airlock, their insect forms moving silently through the corridors. Hana gasped, opening her eyes. Her shadow snapped back to her. "They're already here," she whispered. "The Vex are hunting me." Hana checked the map again, looking for a safe path. As she did, she heard something moving in the tunnel behind her. She froze, listening. Clawed feet scraped against metal. Mandibles clicked softly. A Vex soldier was in the maintenance tunnels, tracking her. Hana moved as quietly as possible, crawling through a narrow passage that led deeper into the station's systems. The clicking sounds followed. She reached a vertical shaft with a ladder. Hana began to climb down, her hands shaking on the rungs. A metallic screech came from above. Hana looked up to see a Vex soldier at the top of the shaft, its compound eyes gleaming in the darkness. It wore some kind of armor that hummed with power. "Found you, Shadow Wielder." It clicked in broken English. Hana panicked and lost her grip. She fell, tumbling through darkness. Her shadow moved on its own, spreading beneath her like a cushion. When she hit bottom, it softened her fall. The Vex soldier was already climbing down after her. Hana scrambled to her feet and ran blindly through the tunnels. Her shadow stretched ahead, showing her the way like a guide. She emerged into a large, circular room filled with glowing power conduits, the station's central power core. "Nowhere left to run," came a clicking voice behind her. The Vex soldier stepped into the room, raising a strange weapon. Two more Vex appeared from other tunnels, surrounding her. "Your kind should not exist," said the first Vex. "You threaten the natural order." "You're the ones threatening my world," replied Hana, backing away. "Humans are acceptable, shadow wielders are not." The Vex moved closer. "7 worlds we cleansed before this one. Earth will be 8th. Cleansed? Hana felt rage building inside her. "You killed entire species?" "Only the shadow wielders. The rest we guided, as we did with humans long ago." The Vex raised its weapon. "Now the last error will be corrected." Hana felt the crystal burning in her pocket. Her shadow spread across the floor, walls, and ceiling, surrounding the Vex soldiers with darkness. "You mocked me," Hana said quietly. "My own people mocked me for how I looked. Because of you. You made them see my features as wrong. Necessary." Click the Vex. "Shadow genes linked to physical traits, easier to eliminate when visible." Hana's shadow tightened around the Vex soldiers like ropes of darkness. They struggled against bonds they couldn't touch. "Let me show you what you fear," Hana whispered. Her shadow reached inside the Vex armor, touching the power sources that hummed within. Hana could feel the energy there, like tiny stars burning in each suit. With a thought, her shadow began to absorb that energy. The lights in the Vex armor flickered and dimmed. "Stop!" screeched the lead Vex. "You don't understand what you're doing." "I understand enough," said Hana. "You came to kill me, To kill my entire world if necessary. The Vex soldiers collapsed as their armor went dark. Without power, they seemed smaller, weaker. Hana's shadow returned to her, bringing with it the energy it had taken. She felt stronger, more aware. Footsteps echoed in the tunnels. People were coming. Jin appeared first, followed by Ambassador Lana. They stopped, staring at the fallen Vex soldiers. "Hana," Jin gasped. "What did you do?" "What I had to," she replied. "They were going to kill me, then destroy Earth." Ambassador Lana moved to examine the Vex. "You didn't kill them. You only took their power." "I don't want to kill anyone," said Hana, "but I won't let them hurt my world, even if my world never accepted me." Jin stepped forward. "We were wrong, Hana. I was wrong. Can you forgive us?" Before Hana could answer, more footsteps approached. General Sun appeared with armed soldiers. "There she is," he ordered. "Restrain her." Hana's shadow rippled around her feet. The hunt wasn't over yet. "Stand down," General Sun ordered, pointing at Hana. "You are to be handed over to the Vex immediately." 6 soldiers surrounded her, weapons raised. Hana's shadow rippled at her feet, ready to defend her. "You can't do this," Jin protested, stepping between Hana and the soldiers. "She just saved us from Vex infiltrators." "I have my orders," said General Sun coldly. "Earth safety is more important than one person." Ambassador Lana's light pulsed with alarm. "This is a mistake. The Vex will not stop with one shadow wielder. They fear what humans might become." "Move aside," General Sun told Jin. "That's an order." Hana felt the crystal pulse in her pocket. Her shadow stretched slightly, touching the feet of the soldiers. She could disable their weapons just as she had with the Vex armor, but these were humans, her people even if they feared her. "Wait," came a new voice. Everyone turned to see Seo, the junior Luminari scientist, entering with another alien in robes, one of the mysterious Meridians. "Elder Mary wishes to speak," said Seo. The Meridian stepped forward, lowering its hood. Its face was unlike anything Hana had seen, smooth and featureless except for 7 small eyes arranged in a circle. "If you surrender the Shadow Wielder," said Elder Mary in a deep melodic voice, "the Vex will destroy your world anyway." General Sun frowned. "What?" "They promised to leave if we hand her over." "They have made such promises to 7 worlds before." "Yours," replied Elder Mary. "All 7 are now dead or enslaved." "How do you know this?" demanded General Sun. "Because we are the survivors." Elder Mary gestured to itself. "The last of the Meridian people. We joined the Stellar Collective to monitor the Vex, to prevent them from destroying more worlds." Loud alarm blared through the station. "Multiple ships detected," announced the station's computer. "Vex warships entering Earth orbit." "You see," said Elder Mary. "They never intended peace. They came hunting shadow wielders, as they always do." General Sun's face paled. He spoke into his communication device. "Report. How many ships?" "Sir," came the response. "We count 27 Vex warships. They're deploying fighters. Earth Defense Force is mobilizing, but we're outmatched." Hana stepped forward. "Let me help." "How?" scoffed General Sun. "What can one person do against a fleet?" Ambassador Lana and Elder Mary exchanged looks. "Tell her," said the Meridian. Ambassador Lana turned to Hana. "The shadow crystal you carry contains only a fraction of the power you can wield. Your shadow can reach beyond this station, beyond Earth itself." "I don't understand," said Hana. "Your shadow exists partly in normal space and partly in the space between dimensions," explained the ambassador. "It can touch the cosmic energy that connects stars, the same energy the Vex use to power their ships." "You want me to disable their ships, like I did with the soldiers?" "If you can," said Elder Mary. "It has been generations since we've seen a true shadow wielder's power." Another alarm sounded. "Vex ships are firing on Earth's defensive satellites," shouted someone over the communication system. "Lunar colony reports attacks." Hana closed her eyes, feeling the weight of what they were asking. She had only just discovered her abilities. How could she stop an entire fleet? "Hana," Jin said, softly. "You don't have to do this." "Yes, I do." Hana opened her eyes. "I need to get to the observation deck. I need to see the ships." General Sun hesitated, then nodded to his soldiers. "Escort her there. Move." The observation deck was a large circular room with transparent walls that showed the vastness of space. Earth filled one side of the view, beautiful blue and green. On the other side, the Vex fleet moved into attack positions, their ships sharp and menacing. Hana stepped to the center of the room. Everyone else stayed back, watching nervously. "What do I do?" she asked Ambassador Lana. "Focus on your shadow," instructed the luminari. "Feel its connection to the cosmic energy around us." Hana closed her eyes. She took the crystal from her pocket and held it tightly. Her shadow spread across the floor, growing larger, darker. The lights in the observation deck dimmed as her shadow absorbed their energy. "That's it," encouraged Seo. "Now reach beyond the station." Hana focused harder. She felt her shadow stretching, extending beyond the room, beyond the station's walls. It was like being in two places at once, here in her body, but also out there, moving through empty space. She could sense the Vex ships. Each one burned with energy like a small star. "I can feel them," she whispered. "Now touch them," said Elder Mary, "as you did with the soldiers." Hana's shadow reached toward the nearest Vex ship. When it made contact, she gasped. The energy inside was enormous, much more than the small amount in the soldier's armor. "There's too much," she said, her voice strained. "Too much power." "You can do it," said Jin from behind her. "I believe in you." The words struck Hana deeply. No one had ever believed in her before. Hana thought of Earth below, of the lunar colonies already under attack, of all the other worlds the Vex had destroyed. With a cry, she pushed her shadow further. It engulfed the nearest Vex ship like a dark cloud. Hana could feel the ship's power, its weapons, its engines, its shields. She began to pull that power into her shadow. On the view screen, the Vex ship's lights flickered and went dark. "She did it," gasped Seo. But Hana wasn't finished. Her shadow spread wider, reaching for another ship, then another. Each time she absorbed their power, leaving them dead in space. The effort was tremendous. Hana's body shook. Sweat covered her face. The crystal in her hand glowed with dark light, helping channel the massive energy she was taking in. "More Vex ships entering the system," shouted someone. "At least 50 more." Hana gritted her teeth. Her shadow now stretched across thousands of kilometers of space, touching ship after ship. To those watching from the observation deck, it looked like a wave of darkness spreading among the stars. The Vex ships fired at her shadow, but energy weapons passed through it harmlessly. Physical weapons were stopped as her shadow simply absorbed their power. "Look," Jin pointed at the view screen. "Their flagship." A massive Vex vessel had appeared, 10 times larger than the others. It glowed with power, its weapons charging. "They're targeting Earth directly," called General Sun. Hana focused all her strength on the flagship. Her shadow surged toward it like a tidal wave of darkness. When her shadow touched the flagship, Hana screamed. The power inside was like nothing she had felt before, like touching a sun, but she didn't retreat. Instead, she wrapped her shadow completely around the enormous ship. "What is she doing?" whispered Jin. "Exactly what they feared," said Elder Mary. "Eating their stars alive." Hana's shadow began to absorb the flagship's power. On the view screen, the great ship's lights dimmed section by section. Its weapons powered down. Its engines failed. And still Hana continued, pulling in more and more energy. "She needs to stop," said Ambassador Lana anxiously. "No shadow wielder can contain this much power." But Hana couldn't stop. The energy she had absorbed was too great, flowing through her body like fire. Her shadow had spread to cover almost the entire Vex fleet, a massive cloud of darkness among the stars. "Hana!" Jin called, moving toward her. "Stay back," warned Seo. "She's becoming pure cosmic energy." Hana's body began to glow with dark light. Her feet lifted slightly off the floor as the energy inside her grew too great to contain. The observation deck's lights exploded. Glass panels cracked. Equipment shorted out. "What's happening to her?" asked General Sun, backing away in fear. "She's transcending," said Elder Mary with something like awe. "Becoming what the ancient shadow wielders were meant to be." Hana couldn't hear them anymore. She existed in two places at once, her body in the station and her shadow among the stars. She felt the Vex ships going dark one by one, their power flowing into her. And then she felt something else, other shadows responding to hers. From Earth, below, from the lunar colonies, from scattered places across the solar system, other shadows reached out to join with hers. "More shadow wielders," gasped Ambassador Lana. "There are more." Hana opened her eyes. They glowed with the same dark light as the crystal. "We are not alone," she said, her voice echoing strangely. "We never were." Then the power overwhelmed her, and Hana collapsed to the floor. Her shadow rushed back to her body, bringing with it the energy of hundreds of Vex ships, energy no human was meant to contain. As darkness took her, Hana heard Jin calling her name, and somewhere far away, she felt the Vex fleet retreating, fleeing from the shadow that had eaten their stars. Alive. Hana opened her eyes to white walls and the soft beep of medical equipment. She was in a hospital room. Sunlight streamed through a window. Not the space station. Earth. Hana tried to sit up. Her body felt strange, both heavier and lighter than before. "Easy," said a familiar voice. "You've been asleep for 9 days." Jin sat beside her bed. He looked tired but smiled when she met his eyes. "What happened?" Hana's voice was rough from disuse. "You saved Earth," Jin said simply. "You disabled the entire Vex fleet. They retreated from our solar system." Memories flooded back, her shadow, stretching across space, touching the Vex ships, absorbing their power. "The station? Is everyone okay?" Jin nodded. "Some damage but no casualties. We evacuated to Earth afterward. The station needs repairs." Hana looked at her hands. They seemed normal, but something felt different inside her. "The crystal?" she asked. "Gone," said Jin. "It seemed to dissolve into your shadow during the event." Hana closed her eyes and reached for her shadow. It responded immediately, stretching slightly beyond its natural shape. "The power is still there," she whispered. "Inside me now." "There's something else you should know," Jin said, his voice careful. "You're not alone." Before Hana could ask what he meant, the door opened. Ambassador Lana entered, her light pulsing in gentle greeting patterns. Behind her came a human woman with features similar to Hana's, the same wide-set eyes, the same long arms. "This is Miran," said the ambassador. "She felt your shadow call to hers." Miran smiled shyly. "I always knew I was different. I never knew why until I felt your shadow reach out." "How many?" asked Hana, her heart racing. 87 so far," answered Jin. "Across Earth and the lunar colonies, all with genetic markers similar to yours. All awakened when your shadow touched their stars." "Their stars?" Ambassador Lana nodded. "Each shadow wielder carries a star inside them, a connection to cosmic energy. Your shadow woke theirs." Hana tried to process this. 87 people like me? "And more being found every day," said Jin. "People who were mocked for their appearance, just like you were." Miran stepped closer. "We've lived in hiding, changed ourselves with surgery, or just suffered the mockery. But now we know what we are." Hana felt tears in her eyes. "We're shadow wielders." "Yes," said a deep voice from the doorway. Elder Mary entered, still wrapped, in robes. "The heritage the Vex tried to erase has returned." "What will happen now?" asked Hana. "That depends partly on you," said Jin. "The world governments want to meet with you. You're a hero, Hana." Hana laughed softly. "Yesterday I was Monkey Girl. Today I'm a hero." "The world knows what you did," said Jin seriously. and what the Vex plan to do to Earth. The door opened again. Director Kim entered, looking uncomfortable. "Hana," he said formally, "I've come to apologize. For everything. For how you were treated on the station. For my part in it." Hana studied him. The man who had excluded her, dismissed her, now stood before her with respect in his eyes. "Where's Taiho?" she asked. Director Kim looked down. "He resigned, left the program entirely after seeing what you did." Hana wasn't surprised. Taiho had built his career on being superior. Finding out that the woman he mocked had saved his world would be too much for his pride. "There's someone else who wants to see you," said Jin, gesturing to the door. Seo entered, the Luminari's light pulsing with excitement. "Shadow Wielder Hana, you have done what no one has done in 1,000 years. You have defeated a Vex invasion fleet." Hana smiled at the alien who had first recognized her potential. "I couldn't have done it without your crystal." "The crystal was just a key," said Seo. "The power was always yours." A tall man in a military uniform appeared in the doorway. Not General Sun, but someone with even more medals and insignia. "Chief Admiral Park," announced Jin, standing quickly. The Admiral nodded. "I've come to personally thank you, Hana, on behalf of Earth's United Defense Council, and to discuss the future." "What future?" asked Hana. "The Vex have retreated, but they will return," said the Admiral seriously. "They fear Shadow Wielders too much to leave Earth alone. We need to prepare." Hana looked at her visitors, humans and aliens all watching her expectantly. "What do you want from me?" she asked. "Leadership," said Elder Mary. "The other Shadow Wielders look to you. You awakened their abilities." "I'm not a leader," protested Hana. "I'm a scientist." "You can be both," said Jin gently. "No one understands." "Shadow Wielders better than you." Hana thought for a moment. All her life she had been mocked and excluded. Now these same people wanted her help. Part of her wanted to refuse, to tell them to solve their own problems. But a larger part knew this was bigger than personal grudges. "I'll help," she said finally. "But I want something in return." "Name it," said the Admiral. "A research center," said Hana, "for Shadow Wielders run by Shadow Wielders, to study our abilities and our history." "Of course," agreed the Admiral quickly. "And no more mockery," added Hana firmly. "No more treating people with our genetic markers as freaks or mistakes. We are what we are, for a reason." "The world has already begun to change," said Jin. "People with your features are being celebrated now, not mocked." Hana wasn't sure if that was better. Being feared or worshipped for your differences wasn't much better than being mocked for them. "There's one more thing you should see," said Ambassador Lana, motioning to a tablet on the bedside table. Jin handed it to Hana. On the screen was a news report with a familiar face. "Taiho. The scientist who once mocked Shadow Wielders has made a surprising announcement," said the reporter. "Dr. Taiho has established a foundation to support children born with Shadow Wielder genetic markers." The video showed Taiho speaking at a press conference. "I was wrong," he said, looking uncomfortable but determined. "I mocked someone for being different, and that person saved our world. I can't undo my actions, but I can try to make sure no other child with these genetic markers faces the same discrimination." Hana stared at the screen in disbelief. "People can change," said Jin quietly. Hana nodded slowly. "If Taiho could change, anyone could." "I want to meet the others," she said, "the other Shadow Wielders." "They're waiting," said Miran with a smile. "They've been gathering since you called to them." Hana swung her legs off the bed. She felt stronger now, the strange energy inside her settling into a warm glow. "Can you walk?" asked Jin with concern. Answer." Hana stood up. Her shadow stretched across the floor, stronger and darker than before. "I think I can do more than walk," she said. 3 months later, Hana stood before a class of 20 children, all with the same genetic markers she had the wide-set eyes, the long limbs, the features that had once earned them mockery. "Today we're going to learn shadow control," she told them. "How to extend your shadow and then bring it back safely." The children watched eagerly, their shadows already moving slightly on the floor around them. The Shadow Academy, they called it. Built on an island donated by a grateful government, it housed over 200 shadow wielders now. Some were children, born with the genetic markers. Others were adults who had hidden their differences all their lives. All of them were learning to use abilities that humans had forgotten for thousands of years. Teacher Hana asked a small girl in the front row, "Is it true your shadow ate the bad aliens' stars?" Hana smiled. "In a way. My shadow absorbed the energy from their ships." "And did people really make fun of you before? Because you looked like us?" The question made Hana pause. How to explain hatred and fear to children who now lived in a world that celebrated their differences? "Yes," she said honestly. "People often fear what they don't understand. They mocked me because I was different." "But now they don't?" asked the girl. Hana thought about how quickly the world had changed, how monkey features had become shadow wielder markers overnight. "People change," she said. "Sometimes because they want to, sometimes because they have to." She raised her hand and her shadow rose from the floor, taking shape in the air, a dark silhouette that moved independently of her body. The children gasped in delight as Hana's shadow danced across the ceiling, creating patterns of darkness and light. "They mocked me once," she told the children. "But our shadows showed them who we truly are. Never let anyone make you ashamed of what makes you special." Outside the window, Earth's new shadow defense network shimmered briefly against the sky, a dark web connecting all shadow wielders, ready to protect their world if the Vex ever returned. Hana smiled as the children's shadows began to rise, tentatively following hers in a dance as old as stars. The monkey girl had found her place at last, and her shadow had shown the world its true power.